Now, for the people watching, they may be new to human design, new to understanding the strategy of a generator. And I find there tends to be a lot of confusion about responding or waiting to respond. And what does that mean? And sometimes initially just hearing waiting to respond causes frustration. Can you elaborate on what responding and or waiting to respond looks like in real life, like in your life? How does that show up? And how can you help help somebody who's newer on their journey understand what that's about and the richness that is involved? Alexander, I'll start with you.
Sure. That's probably the most important question that anybody could ever ask. That's something that I've wondered for a long time, still to this day, which I haven't been on my journey that long. It's been about 3 years at this point. But in short, what I do, which I found to be useful, is I do activities that take me out of my head, that really require me to just, that have then elicit a body response, such as I go to thrift shops. I have just an eye for like finding the right thing that just like, it just pulls you. It's just like, oh, I want that. And you don't even think about it. You just go towards it. It could be like clothing. It could be an item. It could even be a person. Sometimes I just people watch. And I'm like, ooh, that's attractive, without judgment, of course. Or sometimes I just go to grocery stores and I look, because I love fruit and I love produce. So I look for things that just pull me, like a pineapple from Hawaii, for instance, or like I go around the world and I look for like produce that just like sparkles. And it's things like that. Or I don't know, sometimes I have my parents, they ask me if like, this looks good on me. And I don't even think about it. I'm like, So I try to just get out of like the head and don't even like really like have an explanation for that. I just try and have activities. So that's, in short, what I do. Yeah. It might be a little bit weird, might be a little bit uncomfortable, but sometimes like small little practice exercises like that, I think can be so useful. And they don't have to be like changing your whole life overnight. They can just be small things like looking at a banana and being like, ooh, that one looks good out of a whole bunch. You know what I mean? Something like that.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I was taking away from that is you can absolutely use this in the context of little things, big things in your life.
Yeah.
And yes, I also will absolutely highlight what you said about taking, to paraphrase you, like taking the why out of it, right? Like not having to explain why that banana is the one you want, right? Maybe if somebody said, well, why that banana? Well, it's more yellow, it's this, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Which is what human design is all about, which is you're just going with it. You're letting it be. You're not thinking about, you're not overanalyzing, you're not explaining, you're not rationalizing, you're just going with it.
Yeah. So if it's a why, it's because.
Yeah.
That's what I want. Awesome. Heather.
I will echo what Alexander said. I do similar things, I think, more unconsciously, and just kind of, in the morning, do I want coffee? Do I want tea? Look in the fridge and what am I feeling really? And really what is hitting me in that moment. And then for the longer things, I found for me that when I'm not getting the answer, and I'm not getting the response in that moment and getting too up in my head, I write things down and I wait for the answer to come. And it might come, in 5 minutes, it might come in 5 days. One big example is when I did start my business and I was trying to what's the purpose of my business? What is it? And just all these things were flying through my head. So I just free wrote in my journal. And I was at the sink doing dishes, and it all of a sudden 3 days later downloaded, hands wet, dry my hands, rush over, and I'm like, hold on, and writing everything down. So that's when the response came. So when I allowed to just stay in the flow, wrote down what I needed, and then allowed for it to come, that really shifted what I needed. But I love Alexander's ideas of, basically response games, because it helps you in that in between time, because you are responding to stuff all the time. I'm responding to, the weather outside, or the bird flying around, or whatever, whatever is coming to me at that moment. So yeah, I think that's lovely. It's a good way, and that things don't always have to come in that moment is important to remember.
Yeah. And I love your term of the response games, because that really is, it now becomes a bit of a game to start feeling out your sacral, tuning into your sacral. Your the sacral as a generator is the inner GPS, right? It's the, I like this, I don't like this, right? Or I love this, or I don't love this, or this gets me excited, this doesn't get me excited. And it's the yeses, or really the hell yeses, right? That are like magnetically pulling you forward. So I like what you said about that is, and building on Alexander's input is, playing those little games to start honing in, start trusting, start feeling through what that sacral response is, on an individual basis. So love that. Robin, would you like me to repeat the question, Robin?
Sure.
Okay, great. So there is a lot of confusion about what the generator strategy of responding and waiting to respond means. Can you elaborate on what that looks like, in real life, as you've seen with clients, and in your own life?
Yeah. So again, like you guys have said, I really appreciate both Alexander and Heather's take on that. And what you said, Marla, like we're talking about the inner GPS here. Like this is the big gift that the generators and manifesting generators have. And for most of us, I know for myself, that inner GPS plug was pulled out. I was not taught to follow those yeses and nos for the most part. I had a mom who was a manifester, dad who was a manifesting generator, and you make your way, like you said, Heather, by pushing in. And so the first thing for me about the waiting to respond is realizing that how I was taught is not the most effective way for me to get what I'm wanting. So that's the first thing. And what Alexander was saying, it's really a reorientation, getting out of the head. It's like we have a gift as generators to navigate the world. We have this huge gift. For me, it's a bit like Alexander was saying, it's very body based. It's like shifting my locus of focus from my head down to my gut, and like having my gut being like okay, where are we going? Listening, where are we going? Where are we going? And it takes a surrender. It takes a kind of trust. Because again, I've been so oriented towards my mind as the inner GPS, which it is not. And what I know for myself is that if my focus is not out there, but here as the responder, there is a deep gratification that comes when that yes falls in, when that falls in. There's like a settling, there's like a rightness in the universe. Otherwise, I'm out there, my ego is out there dog paddling, trying to navigate the world from a very unsophisticated, really, this inner GPS is so smart. It knows things my head can't conceive of. So when I allow myself the like the trust really in the universe. It's really bigger than me. It's like tapping into something way bigger than me. It's like a sitting back. That waiting to respond is a sitting back in presence, in it's honor. It's an honor of me, it's an honor of the universe, and it's a dance. It's a love making kind of dance. Like it's yeah, I guess that would be a good analogy. Love making. You don't just move in, you're in a listening. It's a listening modality. Being a generator is a listening modality. And there's deep, I get emotional about it, there's deep pleasure in that intimacy with the universe. So I'd say shift from the head to the gut and be, see if you can let go of the control a little bit and yeah, put your hands up on the put your hands up and on the roller coaster and let go.
I love that
And
image.
yeah, it's very intimate. Being a generator is very intimate with life.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh, that was so well said. I love that. I absolutely love that. And you touched upon something that kind of pings for me is as a generator type is um, the logical but sadly detrimental advice growing up is, and which disconnects from sacral, is figure it out. Figure it out in your head, figure it out, figure it out, figure it out, right? Whether it's a decision or what have you. And to realize that no, the magic is actually not figuring it out, is actually, instead of holding it on tightly to spin it, and come up with an answer, is to actually let go and surrender and just realize that the guidance will show up
It's a
and your
huge
body
let
will feel
go. It's a huge let go. Yeah.
it. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Alexander, you wanted to jump in?
Yeah, and I was gonna say, Robin, you were saying it's a huge let go. I think it's also a huge risk-taking venture. It's scary. I mean, it is very scary. At least for me. I mean, I can like feel myself shaking when I talk about it because it's like it is. I mean, it's emotionally and it's emotionally just, it requires you to really be present and really just step in front of the truck and hope that it doesn't hit you. But back to, I just wanted to just say one thing about the gamify aspect of what I was talking about, is that like, it's kind of like Rosetta Stone or something. It's like, if you want to learn a new language, one, you have to fail. I mean, that's hard to maybe accept that, but to really do anything in life. But like a language, and I mean, you have to fail thousands of times. I mean, like, so I feel like if you acknowledge that and maybe practice with the small things, it won't be so detrimental to your self-confidence and esteem, so that you can keep going for the next play, just like investing or something like that. Like these day traders, like maybe someone can relate to this, but it's like, they're losing pennies, but like over time that adds up. But it's not such a kill that they can't go on to trade the next day. So that's how the professionals do it. And I feel like we can just maybe learn something from that strategy, which is start small.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you were talking about, I mean, we came up with the term, the sort of the sacral games, right? Sort of the playing with it without, I would say, even with, like you said, start small, no expectations, kind of see where it goes, and build. It's almost like building a trust in yourself that, your GPS is there and it works. It's just, how does it show up, right? And what does that feel like? And like I said, practicing small is almost like it's like a lower risk, scenario until you kind of build up that trust. And Jennifer, one of the comments on the Facebook group said playfulness. It's talking about sort of the playfulness aspect of, playing with that sacral response and seeing how it shows up.